The webinar will be starting in 1 minute. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this Cybersecurity Best Practices webinar for nonprofits. My name is Robert Giel. I'm Business Development Manager at KIK ICT, and with me this morning is Nick Banks from Microsoft's Tech for Social Impact team. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Robert. Good morning, everyone.
Also with me is David Payne, Technical Services Director here at KIK ICT.
Morning, everyone.
So just like to mention first off, for those of you that are not from a non-profit organisation, you're also most welcome. But please note, a lot of the offers and resources outlined this morning, they're only available to eligible non-profits. So here's the agenda. The agenda can really be split into 3 main sections. Firstly, we wanted to raise awareness and let you understand all of the offers, tools and resources available to non-profits from Microsoft, and there are quite a few. Secondly, with that awareness, how can I, as a non-profit, use these tools and other measures to really improve my organization's security posture in an affordable way? And David and I will run through 5 best practice recommendations that will help you on your way. And that's really the main focus of the webinar. But also like to introduce you to Nick and the Microsoft Tech for Social Impact team, or TSI team for short, and let you hear about their aims and objectives. But just by way of introduction, over the past few years, Microsoft has started to release industry-specific capabilities across their existing technology stack. They've done this in the healthcare sector, manufacturing, financial services, and now in the non-profit sector. So in the non-profit space, this offering is called Microsoft Cloud for Nonprofit, which includes technologies such as Dynamics 365, Microsoft 365, the Power Platform, and LinkedIn. And we'll go through what that looks like with you a little bit later on. But it's about how these Microsoft technologies can help nonprofits achieve their mission, which typically revolves around fundraising engagements and volunteer management. So the overall idea behind the webinar, if you like, is to let you see the big picture, but as you embark on your digital journey, let's get robust security in place from the onset. There'll be around 5 to 10 minutes at the end for questions. Feel free to ask questions in the chat facility, and we'll try and answer them in the session. But if not, then definitely shortly after. And you'll all receive a recording of this webinar. So just in terms of the background, the backdrop to this webinar, we thought it would be useful just to give you a bit of background around why KIC is focused on this sector, as well as highlighting what we're seeing in the sector. Since 2015, when KIC was formed, we've always been a Microsoft partner. It's really been the backbone of the business, if you like, and we've numerous Microsoft Gold accreditations to support this. Importantly, the technologies within the Cloud for Nonprofit offering mirror our core business skill set. There's nothing mentioned here this morning that we can't help you with. It's important to note also we've already have an established presence in this sector, and I know the board at KIC are keen to support the sector, so it's a very noble cause. In terms of what we're seeing, certainly we can see a lot of independent applications being used out there. Perhaps they don't talk to each other in organizations. We can certainly see that most nonprofits are using Microsoft 365, and in a lot of cases, the security tools are already there. It's just they're not being turned on. We know that nonprofits hold a wealth of sensitive data, and we're aware of the importance of protecting that data, while at the same time we know they're working with limited resources and budgets. And that detail is not lost on bad actors. Bad actors are also aware of this, which really makes the charity and non-profit sector a prime target for hackers. So what does a threat landscape look like? Well, just wanted to give you one slide, some sector-specific figures, and the closest we found was a recent UK government survey across 2,000 businesses, charities, and education institutions. And 39% of those surveyed had identified a cyber attack over the past 12 months. And of those, phishing was by far the most common threat vector, behind around 83% of these attacks. So phishing obviously central to this. And just under 20K was the average cost of an attack. There's a link to the survey at the bottom of the page. It's quite an interesting and comprehensive report. Okay, so that's the backdrop. How can we begin to improve security? Well, we thought a good starting point would be to highlight the offers available to you as a nonprofit from Microsoft, and that will help you give you an idea as to how they might fit into your organization. So first up, we've got 300 free Microsoft 365 Business Basic licenses. And these are really great for frontline seasonal workers that might come in as volunteers and just need a SharePoint document library and an email box. Business Basic gives you that identity and security layer around these people, so you've got something that's locked down to an individual. A big player in all of this is Dynamics 365 Sales Enterprise licenses with 5 free licenses. It very much lets you tip your toes in the water to see the power of Dynamics 365. And it will let you see how data can be shared across applications and how it might begin to break down those data silos that we know exist. You also get 10 free Power Apps licenses that can integrate with Dynamics 365 or SharePoint and help automate a lot of these really heavy manual tasks and processes. Eligible nonprofits are also entitled to $3,500 US credit per annum towards your Azure spend. That's per annum, and that's really useful if you want to uplift a legacy server that's currently on premise, where you don't want to replace the hardware, or maybe it's a SQL database that you can just easily uplift into Azure and start to absorb these credits. But Microsoft 365 Business Premium is by far and away where we're seeing the biggest uptake, with 10 free licenses, providing you with that best of breed productivity with Teams, Outlook, OneDrive, SharePoint, as well as that cybersecurity layer. It's a really great SKU which warrants a slide of its own. So just wanted to pull out 6 of the tools highlighted here within Business Premium. 5 are security related, and the 6th, although not directly security related, it's too useful not to mention. So first up, and under the Enterprise Mobility and Security heading, is multi-factor authentication, or MFA. And quite simply, MFA is one of the most effective controls to insulate an organization against remote attacks. With MFA, knowing or cracking the password is not enough to gain access to your systems. A second form of verification is required to say you are who you say you are. And Microsoft MFA, multi-factor authentication, can block over 99% of account compromise attacks, so it's simply a must. Secondly, conditional access. The recommended way to enable and use Azure Active Directory MFA is with conditional access policy in place. And an example policy might be, if you're in the office using your trusted machine, say a Surface Pro, then you might not want users to be prompted every time they want to access their apps. So under these conditions, you're not asked for an MFA prompt. But if you're using that same trusted device and traveling on a train, for instance, then under these conditions, I might want the system to prompt MFA and request that additional layer of security. And finally, if you're using a non-trusted machine or an unknown location, then you might want to block access. The key here being that with conditional access, MFA can be deployed at a much more granular level. And with conditional access, you can also lock down specific IP addresses. So any attempts to access from certain countries can be blocked. Third up is Intune. There's definitely a trend whereby employees are increasingly using their own mobiles and laptops to access work data. So protecting work data on personal devices, certainly for some organizations, is a big consideration. Microsoft Intune allows employees to use their own devices for work, but at the same time make sure your company data stays safe and isolated from personal data. So a really useful feature within Intune is that if a laptop or phone is lost or stolen, or if an employee leaves the organization, then you have the ability to remotely wipe sensitive company data immediately. Fourth up is data loss prevention, or DLP. It's a really great security and compliance feature. Non-profits, we know, have vast amounts of sensitive information under their control, which might be financial data, proprietary data, credit card numbers, health records, or national insurance numbers. Organizations need a way to prevent users from unintentionally or accidentally sharing this sensitive data with people who shouldn't have it. And this is where DLP comes in. Typically, it's members of staff within a governance team who will create DLP policies. In other words, decide what type of data is deemed sensitive within your organization. This will enable a DLP policy to be created to protect that type of data. So let's say your policy stipulated credit card information must be protected. Then DLP will scan emails and files and pattern match against that information held within your policy. So DLP can block users from sending that sensitive email or sharing that sensitive file. It's a very useful and powerful tool. And on the left-hand side there's Microsoft Defender for Business, which was added to Business Premium back in March earlier this year. This is Microsoft's next generation antivirus product that provides that extra layer of security. The sixth tool, and the one I mentioned earlier, is Windows Autopilot. And basically, Autopilot streamlines the procurement to installation process considerably. And if you're familiar with the slightly out of date term gold image, i.e. your user's applications, updates, and settings, then it is that gold image that is pre-configured in the cloud, ready to be downloaded when the user receives their new device. It really effectively removes the need for an engineer to visit a customer premises and manually set up new devices or devices. So with Autopilot, the key thing is new devices can be delivered to wherever users are working, be it remotely or in the office. All the end user needs to do is unbox a new device, log in, and Autopilot will automatically install their apps, updates, and policies. Admittedly, there's a bit of setup time up front, but it's a much more cost-effective and modern way to have new devices deployed. So that's really a very high-level summary of some of the key tools within Business Premium. I think there's something like over 30 tools in total. and it comes in for non-profit organisations at £3 per user per month, and that's after 10 free licenses. So the question is, how do I leverage these tools, and what tools best fit my organisation to really accelerate my security posture? And late last year, Microsoft started a great initiative offering eligible non-profits a full security assessment on their Microsoft Cloud ecosystem. So not only will that help you understand your current position, but it'll also help you identify what tools within the Microsoft ecosystem that can address any gaps in your security posture, your cyber security strategy, I should say. So this then is our first recommendation: use the free security assessment to accelerate your security posture. And here's an extract from a sample assessment report, just to give you a flavour of what you can expect. So in this instance, the sample report says your security score is currently 39%, and it's identified 15 risks in red there. And if you implement the top 5 best practice recommendations, your Microsoft security score will increase by 39%, i.e. go from 39% to 76%. Later on, we'll let you see a link to register for this assessment. The only thing we'd ask you to do is to list KIK ICT as our solution partner. That will help us work with Nick and his team to deliver that report to you and let you see your score and associated recommendations. So that's all for me just now. Next up is David, who's going to talk you through our 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th recommendations, and the 2nd being cyber security awareness and training. David.
Thanks, Robert. Yes, morning everyone. So on an earlier slide, it was highlighted that 83% of all breaches start with a phishing email. So that identifies this really as a threat that needs to be tackled as a matter of some priority. So technology will only get you so far. You can have the best firewall, the best anti-malware in the world. However, at some point, the human element has to come into play. And the question, I think, really is, can your users identify a legitimate email from a malicious email? And what would they know? Would they know what to do if they think they saw a suspicious email? So we offer cyber security awareness training from KnowBe4, and that allows us to train users in a manner that they want to be trained. Some people prefer to learn from games, some from webinars, videos, posters, and we can tailor that to the individual user's needs. We then run a phishing campaign where we create an email that's delivered to our users to see how many people click on a link or how many users fall for what is in the email. And that allows us to see how many users have taken heed of the training. And we repeat this cycle where we tailor the training to meet the needs of our users. So this is a service that we use ourselves internally. And once a month, we train all of our users. And then every quarter, we run a phishing campaign to see just how effective the training has been and to highlight what areas that we need to focus on the next round of training. And this is a process that continues. Security awareness training shouldn't be something that's done once per year or just at the induction phase. It should be something that is constant, as it's a process of continual improvement. And there's one clever feature of the KnowBe4 system that we use, and that is that if a malicious email comes in to say 20 of our staff, allegedly from our chief exec, asking for some Amazon vouchers to be purchased as a matter of urgency, it takes just one member of staff to report that email as being suspicious, and the system will determine whether it is a phish email or not. And if it is, then the system will automatically pull that email from the mailboxes of the other 19 members of staff, which reduces the risk of somebody else clicking on a link in the email or taking action based on the content of what is a malicious email. So in terms of frameworks, there's several different frameworks that allow you to measure your security posture and identify areas of weakness for improvement. Different frameworks are aimed at different organizations of different sizes, different stages of their maturity of their information security management system. A lot of organizations at the moment that we see are heading down the Cyber Essentials accreditation route, and usually fairly shortly afterwards, they go down the Cyber Essentials Plus route. So Cyber Essentials is a UK government-backed certification scheme that helps organizations protect themselves against the most common threats through annual assessments and manual certification. The only difference between Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus is that the Plus certification is verified through an independent body. And we've assisted several charities and non-profit organizations through the accreditation process and are obviously happy to provide more information if you're considering the Cyber Essentials certification route. There's other frameworks listed there, including ISO 27001, the NIST standard and CIS controls, all of which are good standards to align to if they fit with your business model. So next up is the importance of processes. We've mentioned people, we've mentioned technology, and the last pillar to mention is process. It's interesting when reviewing the cause of many cyber-related breaches, because quite often the cause, or at least a contributing factor, can be traced back to the lack of a process. So we'd like to outline 3 best practice process related checks that we would recommend. The first of which is to review your patch management process. So we all know that we should be applying the latest patches, but what should we patch and how often should we apply those patches? When it comes to Windows systems, it's not enough just to apply security and critical updates. For the operating system itself, feature releases need to be applied too, and these are not part of the automatic updates that are applied. So the current build of Windows 10 is known as 21H2, and the versions 20H2 and 1909 went end of life just back on the 10th of May, which means that those editions will no longer receive monthly security updates, and therefore they won't get the protection from the latest threats. In addition to the operating systems, there's the core applications such as Microsoft Office, Edge browser, Chrome, Firefox, as well as the supporting applications such as .NET Framework and Java that all need to be patched on a regular basis too. Sometimes overlooked is the networking infrastructure. So firmware in firewalls, for example, or routers, switches, wireless access points, storage devices, these all need to be kept up to date too. And as for the frequency of patching, well, Cyber Essentials mandates that critical or high risk patches must be applied within 14 days of being released. A review of access controls. So moving on to access controls, which are one of the fundamental components of information security, as they not only provide or restrict access to data, but they also create an audit trail of who accessed or who attempted to access data. This means that every user should therefore have their own individual named account. There shouldn't be any accounts with generic names, and there certainly shouldn't be any shared accounts. And it's also important that the users only have access to the minimum amount of data that they need to perform their role. When it comes to privileged accounts for admin level tasks that allow the execution of software, changes to operating systems, or the creation of new accounts, these privileged accounts need to be treated with extra care. A user who needs an admin level account should always have two accounts, one for their day-to-day access and one for their admin level tasks. The admin level account should only be used for admin level functions and not for standard activities, which may expose the admin level privileges to avoidable risks. And this applies whether the admin accounts are local to a device, whether they're domain, or whether they're cloud-based admin accounts. What else can you do to protect your organizations? Well, you can have a process for the creation and the deletion of accounts. That means accounts have to be approved before being created, and probably more importantly, that accounts are removed or disabled when no longer required. Accounts should also be further protected with brute force protection, which will slow down failed login attempts. So somebody trying to guess a password will actually be slowed down automatically by the system, and ultimately the system will lock the account out. And good housekeeping also plays a part, as we've said, and it really is important that any accounts that are no longer required should be disabled or removed altogether. And the last point, as Robert has already mentioned earlier on, is multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication has transitioned from a nice to have to a must have to protect any accounts that are accessible from the internet. Without that second factor of authentication, your security relies purely on the strength of a username and a password. And that username, which is often an email address, is quite often already in the public domain. Cyber Essentials currently mandates multi-factor authentication has to be in place for all admin level accounts. But from January 2023, Cyber Essentials will mandate multi-factor authentication for all cloud services. Personally, I often hear users who don't have a company mobile device are not willing to use their personal mobile device for multi-factor authentication. And we also have customers who work in areas that don't allow mobile devices to be used in areas such as laboratories. In these cases, there is still an option to use hardware tokens for multi-factor authentication, even with Office 365 with the right license. These are the tokens that display a 6-digit number for 30 seconds and then rotate to a new number. The point being that multi-factor authentication doesn't start and end with a mobile device. Another approach that I come across often is a desire to only protect certain users with multi-factor authentication, because these are the users who are most likely to be targeted. These are usually board members, committee members, or finance people. But this isn't a great approach because a hacker will attempt to gain entry into the network at any point. And once they're inside, they will then look to escalate their privileges. So please always look to protect all of your users with multi-factor authentication. Our fifth point is to take a proactive approach. This is to have a proactive mindset to cybersecurity as a whole. The threat actors are currently scanning your systems, looking for areas of weakness as we speak. So we need to beat them at their own game. We need to be one step ahead of them. We have created a proactive security monitoring service that effectively looks at your network in the same way that a hacker does. So by scanning your public IP addresses and your company website once a month, we can look for vulnerabilities, for unsupported software, because that's exactly what a hacker is doing. And this service incorporates some of the National Cyber Security Centre's early warning services. And also we look for email addresses that have been exposed in a data breach, and we can alert you on that so that you can actually take action. Second point there is about your users. Your users are one of the most important assets you have in cybersecurity, and it's important to involve them and encourage them to report any potential weaknesses in your security posture. This could be a lost mobile device. This could be somebody who's sharing passwords. This could be the loss of any personal identifiable information. But unless a user highlights this as a potential issue, you may not even know that it exists. The final point there is to prepare and create an incident response plan. One of the best ways to give your organization protection is through preparation. And it's something that you cannot leave until you have a breach to draw up a plan, because then it's really too late. You have to assume that a breach is going to happen and you have to be prepared in advance. Ransomware attacks can spread very quickly, compromising any organization, and it's vital that everybody understands how to respond to this threat and in an effective manner. So how do we take this forward? Well, cybersecurity is a very broad but very deep topic covering many different domains. The starting point really is to understand where any weaknesses are, because once the weaknesses are identified, a plan or a roadmap can then be created for improvement. And the plan should start with corrective action for improvements that are based on the level of associated risk, because it's vital to work through the plan in order of mitigating the risks that have the biggest impact to the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your data first. Of course, even when all the tasks on the plan have been actioned, that's not the end of the story. Cybersecurity is a perpetual process that requires continual monitoring and improvement through a process of preventative action. So final comments from me. I want to make the point that cybersecurity is not always about the latest buzzwords such as nation state attacks, advanced persistent threats, and 0 days. Most attacks are not that sophisticated, and most can be defended against by just doing the basics well. If your foundations are weak, then attackers will be able to exploit them. But if the basics are done well, the chances are the attackers will move on to a more likely to move on to an easier target. I'm more than happy to have an offline chat with any of you if you want any advice on security challenges that you may be facing. Just reach out to me. My email address will be on the last slide. So I'm now going to hand you back over to Robert.
Thank you very much for that, David. Hope we all found that useful. I'd now like to introduce you to Nick Banks to give you a very high-level overview of the Microsoft Tech for Social Impact team and their Cloud for Nonprofit offering. Nick.
Thank you, Robert. And thank you all again for joining us this morning. So my name is Nick Banks, as you already know. I am a Business Development Manager at Microsoft within our Tech for Social Impact team. So TSI, we shorten it to. It's a very young team actually, but it's a very small team. So when I joined 2 years ago, we were about 70 people. We're now at almost 150, so it's growing at a rapid rate, even though it is a very small team, which kind of shows you the importance that Microsoft are really putting on this sector. And yeah, so my role is really all around engaging with the Microsoft partner community to deliver our Microsoft solutions to the charity sector here in the UK. And I don't know if you have felt this, but from our research, we've found that there's a real lack of support in the sector, and finding good IT people that can help you can be really tough as well. So today, I want to spend a few minutes just to share our approach to driving social impact, as well as the offers that are available to yourselves. And as Robert has already mentioned, please pop any questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer these in the Q&A session at the end of the call. So the TSI team, as I'm going to call them now, was created in late 2017, but Microsoft Philanthropies, as you may have heard in the past, have been supporting charities and the non-profit sector for decades, with licensed grants of software and also some cloud services too. And the creation of TSI has further focused this, with my team responsible for increasing grant and discounted license usage. So we also want to dramatically expand the numbers of non-profits gaining access to our services worldwide. We've also created a solutions and engineering team. So this team is tasked to develop solutions to help tackle some of the biggest challenges that you will be facing. And in offering all these discounted softwares and services, we do still make some margin, very small, but we do still make some, which we use to pay for our cost. And the remainder that we do then use to drive some more social good. And so in essence, really, we are our own little non-profit, and we are separate from the Microsoft main business. So really, the more non-profits that we reach, the more good that we can do. And we want to reach even more non-profits every year. So a little bit about us. So supporting non-profits is part of who we are, and Microsoft has been engaging with charities since 1983, which is actually longer than I've been alive. But last year, Microsoft provided over $2 billion in grants and discounted software and services, and we equipped 225,000 non-profit organisations worldwide. We are now working with almost 300,000 non-profits worldwide, but we've got a goal, a big goal, to reach 500,000 by 2025. So we've got some work to do, as you can see. I just want to again highlight the things that are available right now for charities. So our grant program enables you to get some of our licenses at no cost. And this includes our hero SKU, which is Microsoft 365 Business Premium. And you can get 10 of those completely for free. So to find out more on these offers, please reach out to the team at Kick, and then we can put you through the process of eligibility, which is really quick and easy. And I did one yesterday, actually, it can be done in less than 5 minutes. So it's really, really simple and really easy. So on top of that, though, once those free licenses have been used, we also offer up to 75% discount on any paid for licenses. And again, this is a considerable discount. So yeah, you can definitely get some good good cheap licenses after those free ones have been given. Next slide, please, Robert, if you could. So, security program for non-profits. So you will hear a lot today about security and the importance of having some security posture and some processes in place. So late last year, Microsoft created the security program for non-profits. So the first pillar of this program is called Account Guard, and this provides threat monitoring and notification in case of a nation state attack. And that's not just for the work emails, but also your personal emails as well if they're on Outlook or Hotmail. This is available at no additional cost, and it can be claimed in your non-profit hub if you've got eligibility already. The second pillar is a free security assessment, which Robert has already mentioned. And then our third pillar is training. So we want to ensure that you have easy to access training options that will support your long-term security goals. And again, these slides they're being recorded, so they're going to be shared with you at the end. So you can get access to these training links. And it does cater from all levels, from beginner to advanced as well. And I've also got a good couple of ebooks that we can send you as well, and you can download. Robert's also mentioned how we are building industry-specific capabilities on top of the existing Microsoft technology products. So this is known as our Microsoft Cloud for Nonprofit. Again, this came in late last year, and it brings together all of our capabilities at Microsoft and provides solutions to help yourselves and charities in general know your donors and supporters, deliver effective programming and accelerate mission outcomes. And this wheel represents our overarching vision and also our commitment to building non-profit relevant solutions. And you can see listed on the left some of the programs and the apps that we've created to overcome those industry priorities, such as volunteer management and volunteer engagement. And all of our solutions are underpinned by our security program. And keeping you secure is really at the center of everything that we do. This slide here, it's a big wordy slide with lots of icons, but we've got kind of 3 focus areas which I've just mentioned, of which our Microsoft products support these priorities for a non-profit. So in summary, for no cost, you can get access to all of these solutions that are highlighted in grey. The only exception is the marketing journeys, which you will need Dynamics marketing for. This does come at a small cost, but it is not actually essential in the running of the rest of the systems. So the rest of them are completely free to use. This one's just like an added extra to get more out of your marketing. You can see the Microsoft technologies at the bottom there with the icons that underpin our non-profit industry priorities, and these are all built using our common data model, which in simple terms provides a shared data language for businesses and analytical applications to use. So it's all about breaking down those data silos, streamlining processes, and allowing applications to talk to one another, which is critical in this day and age. The team at Kick, I'm sure, would be delighted to go through this in further depth with any of you, and to really show you what Microsoft Cloud for Nonprofit can do for you. We also have a huge pool of resources available to help you learn all about the solution, as well as pricing and the prerequisites as well. This can all be found online by searching Microsoft Cloud for Nonprofit. But I'll leave it there, and I will hand back over to the guys at Kick. Please reach out if you want to know more or you've got any questions, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for that, Nick, and thank you for your support. The final slide before Q&A is just a bit of background on Kick ICT's history. I mentioned earlier we were formed in 2015, and the left-hand side there highlights the companies we've acquired along the way. There's a few Dynamics 365 partners there, including Talon Business Solutions, RockSap, Turnkey Business Software, and that's resulted in our Dynamics 365 division, which offers business management solutions around Dynamics 365 Business Central, as well as more focused Dynamics 365 sales and marketing solutions. We've seen considerable growth here over the last 18 months as more and more organizations move their key business management functions into the cloud. The division also offers and delivers solutions based on the Microsoft Power Platform, including Power BI and Power Apps. So fair to say we have a very strong technical services division, which was given considerable impetus through the acquisition of Castle Computers in 2018. And this is a division that delivers a whole range of technical services, including IT managed services, cybersecurity assessments, Microsoft 365 solutions, as well as private cloud solutions based on Azure. Around this time last year, Cloud Solutions came into the group, providing the companies with internet connectivity, cloud telephony, cabling, Wi-Fi solutions. And this team forms our comms division. The fourth and final pillar of the business is our Infor division. This is the team that delivers and supports Infor Sun Systems, an enterprise-level financial system, and it also provides accounting and financial solutions based on Pegasus software. So there we are, more or less on time. Nick, David, and I are very happy to take any questions you may have. We've put our contact details on the slide. Please feel free to reach out to any of us for more information, and certainly we'd all be happy to help. So happy to receive any questions.
If we don't have any questions, Robert, I've got something that I missed, which I think is quite important to talk about, and that is consistency of offers and pricing. So there is one offer that you can get via an enterprise agreement that you can't get via a cloud service provider, and that is an Office E1 SKU, which you can get some granted licenses of. But my point was, it doesn't matter where you go, the pricing itself after the discount is very consistent for wherever you go. So that is, again, one of the key things of the Tech for Social Impact team, because previously you would get all your great offers directly through Microsoft, and that isn't the case anymore. It's consistent across our whole channel. So I thought I'd make that point.
Well, thanks for that, Nick. Feel free to email in any questions you may have offline. You have our contact details there. But I think that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks again for attending, and have a good day.
Thanks all.